New iPad reactions. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by Zocdoc. Find local doctors who take your insurance. Learn more at Zocdoc.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's already an out-of-control Tuesday night here on MacVoices Live. The panel is out of control. The chat room, I think, is just in shock at what they've just heard. It is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. You should be joining us on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV and be in the chat room and enjoy the pre-show, the post-show, and the actual show, which we are finally doing now.
What have you heard, Chuck?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point, Kelly. So we are, let's see, we're a few hours after Apple has announced new iPads and a new Apple TV. That'll probably be our lead story for the evening, maybe the whole evening. I don't know. We'll find out. First, let's find out who's here, though. And since she already jumped in, we'll start at the bottom of my screen with Ms. Kelly Guimont making her, well, I don't know if it's a triumphant return, but a return.
Top on our hearts.
Yeah. Good to have you, Kelly.
It's nice to be here. I have some things to say about what got announced today, so I had to come.
I'm shocked.
I had to come chat about it. Yeah,
I'm shocked. Yeah. Beside her on my screen, Mr. Guy Serle has arrived on a cheap USB mic this time.
On a cheap USB microphone,
and those are cheap sunglasses.
Yeah. Well, no, it's
that's
fine.
A different podcast,
fine.
David.
It's fine. It's a fine microphone.
Okay. Yeah, well, we can hear you, so
but it's a cheap USB microphone. Guy, are you feeling okay? Were you replaced by aliens?
$35. Though, on the other hand, I did also buy a Rode NT1A.
Oh, okay. Okay. He's not aliens, you guys. He's totally Guy. He's still Guy. It's fine.
So that officially means that the depression or the recession is not here yet. Guy's still buying microphones.
Not yet.
Jeff Gamet has arrived just in time to hear some of the exciting pre-show banter. Jeff, good to see you.
It's good to see you. I'm still not sure what show I'm on, but hey, I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure either. Webb Bixby is here to hopefully keep order and keep us all straight. Is that possible, Webb?
Not at all. Forget it. No way. So, but
you have been here before.
And the great thing is that since I do have this other day job, I haven't seen. Well, I've seen very little of the Apple announcements, so I'm going to contribute a lot. Know absolutely nothing about it. So,
well, welcome to the club.
Thank you.
That doesn't stop any of us, sweetheart. You're in good company.
Oh God!
Good to be here. Thank you.
Yes. Warren Sklar was giving us an education in marital economics pre-show. Warren, it's good to have you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Yes.
You say that now.
A lot of things kept me straight. What was it? So I'm on the microphone. Since we're talking, the only microphone I ever used was the one that Dave sent me, and that's the one I'm just continuing to use till I die, I guess. So sounds pretty good. No, I appreciate it.
Well, I feel better.
Well,
indirectly, Guy did own that mic at one point. So
did he, this one?
Yes, of course he did.
Are you kidding me?
He has owned
the mic I'm using.
All the microphones.
Guy that went to you. Wow,
it went to me. I bought it from.
I almost feel like we have to send it to another podcaster at this point just to continue the chain.
But it has to go to someone in the Ukraine.
Do we know any podcasters out there? Anyhow,
if you are one, you can email Chuck. Chuck, give us the contact address, and we'll do what we can to get a mic headed your direction. How's that?
Winner pays shipping, please.
Email Warren.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Hey, Jim Ray is here again. I don't know why he keeps showing up, but he does, and I'm sure glad. Jim, it's good to see you.
Well, one of you should be.
I was real worried about where that was going, Chuck.
Oh, and Eric Bolden is up in the top right-hand corner of my screen, looking just bewildered at what is going on here.
So he's been here before too.
I got yes, I got all my plants in from the outside, and the fish are all in out of the cold. So, yeah, it's a good week.
Did they get a good walking before you brought them in?
Pretty much.
Yeah, fish or plants. Either one.
Yeah.
Fish?
Yeah. The goldfish, bring them in before it freezes so that.
Oh, okay.
They're, yeah.
But
Koi
taking
pond.
the opportunity
I was
to take
gonna
them for
say
a
they're-
walk,
They're very
yeah.
coy.
I see what you did there. Well played, sir.
Man. Wow. Last
Dave
but
said
not
it first.
last but not least, up in the angelic left corner of my screen,
If
Dave
you let them,
Ginsburg.
if you let them freeze and come back when they thaw, they'll start swimming again. My wife could tell you this. Go ahead.
It works pretty well. Yeah. I used to do that in the horse tanks.
Okay, now we have fish voices tonight.
I'm glad to be here, Chuck. Thank you, and thanks for having
Sure?
me. And,
Yeah, sure you are. Dave. Sure you are.
I am coming off of a
say that
fine,
now.
a fine
man.
session last night with the Silicon Valley at Mac user group, which was a lot of fun. And glad to be here to talk about new Apple stuff. Like that's what we're always here for.
Yeah, it's too bad you were on last night with them because then the next
Could have been talking
day
about it.
we have new iPads. So, which is the big news of the day? We have new iPads at multiple levels. Some improvements, some changes. Guess what? Some controversies. There's a surprise.
Yeah.
No.
So let's start out by saying, is there anyone here that is interested to the point of considering buying one of the new iPads?
No, I'm happy with my M1.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Well,
thinking
Kelly?
about it.
I am not. I
Okay.
have no use for it.
So
I'm
Kelly,
interested.
Mhm.
It's a lot of money.
Okay. So we have a bunch of interested people. So let's see. Well, Webb, I'll start with you. What turned your head? Let's put it that way. And I know you said you haven't had a chance to look at a lot of things, but something obviously turned your head.
Yeah, it's just that it's the M2, the iPad that I have right now is a fourth generation. Do I need a new one? No. The one that I have works just fine. I use my iPad mainly when I'm in meetings because it's just a little bit less obtrusive than the Mac itself. You power it on or you turn it on and it just powers up automatically, all that kind of stuff. So I use it that way a lot.
But what do you get out of it between the one you had the last generation Pro, right? Is that what you're
I
saying?
had the fourth generation, so it's I think it's before
Same one I
the
have.
yeah.
The 2018.
Does
okay.
that have with the M1 chip or no? Because
No, it does not have the M1.
okay.
And so that's the only reason why I
that's
consider
a good that I understand. Yeah. Okay. That's a good upgrade because you're getting probably Stage Manager at that point where you wouldn't have it before.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about it. I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I didn't order one. Thought about it. So still thinking about it.
Is Stage Manager limited to the M series iPads?
As far as we know right now, it is.
No, they
No,
changed
it's
that.
not. They changed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They changed that.
But it only goes back so far. As far
Well,
as
we're
we
not going to
know.
worry about how far it goes back right now. Webb,
Well-
what is your use case? I mean, are you is the iPad a business device for you, or is it more of a personal device?
Well, I own it personally, but I use it mainly as a business device. Like I said, it's for note taking in meetings is the main thing. I don't drive any presentations on it. I do have what we now call Microsoft 365 on it. It used to be called Office. So I do some of that on it. But the main thing that I use is for all my hardcore work is going to be this MacBook Pro or the Mac Pro that I have in my office. So
Okay.
So it's just a portable device. So.
All right. Who else said they were potentially interested?
I'm
lost track.
interested.
You're interested, Jeff. I'm not
Yes.
exactly surprised, given some of the new iPad Pencil capabilities, that you would say that.
Okay, well, since you brought up the Apple Pencil capabilities, holy crap! Finally, what took so long for this? To me, this is a feature that should have been there for a long time, and this is a feature that I'm used to with my Wacom tablet. So this is a feature that I've been using on Wacom tablets for, at this point, literally decades. So seeing it come to Apple Pencil on the new iPad totally makes sense that it's happening. And actually, it'll do a little bit more than I do with Hover on my my Wacom tablet, because Apple Pencil is detecting the angle when you're hovering, which my my Wacom stylus doesn't do. It detects that angle only when it's touching the tablet surface. Yeah, so to me that's really interesting. The video editing that I do is all done on an iPad Pro, and I have I can't remember which generation it is, but it's not an M series iPad Pro. It is USB-C, and yeah, so it would be a nice upgrade, because I'm going to get better color management, the new Apple Pencil features, a faster processor for video rendering. That all sounds really appealing. Here's the thing for me, though. What device do I need to get next? And that's a question that I can't answer yet, because I don't know what the next MacBook Pro is going to have, and maybe that's the device that I need to get first. To me, in the perfect Apple world, I'd be able to do literally every single thing that I need to do on an iPad, but I could do it on my iPad Pro. So then I could get, well, yes, but for some things I have to do workarounds that I just don't want to do yet. So we're so close to me saying my perfect setup is a 12.9-inch iPad Pro and a beefed up Mac Mini. And then I just have the Mac on my desk. And when I walk away from my desk, I have a super high-powered computer that I carry with me, and it just happens to be called an iPad.
Agreed. What video editor are you using?
I use LumaFusion.
LumaFusion. Have you heard of CapCut?
I have, and I just haven't played with it.
It's a very
I'm so
interesting
happy
program.
I'm so happy with LumaFusion that I just haven't bothered to play with it. But now that you're telling me it's really interesting, I should probably play with it.
Sorry, didn't mean to hijack.
No.
This time.
I think it's, God, to me, that's sort of the question here. And that's why I was asking Webb. And I knew Jeff, from a graphic standpoint, the new Pro would appeal to him. And I think I said iPad Pencil. Sorry, before I meant Apple Pencil.
Speaking of, can I share with you my hypothesis on camera placement?
Please, because that's another issue that is different.
Yeah, not having the camera on the landscape edge on iPad Pro, it's kind of crazy, but I think Apple worked themselves, or they engineered themselves into a corner with this one, because I have a feeling that there's not enough room to have the cameras and the magnets and charging elements for Apple Pencil all in the same place. And so the camera now has to stay where it was so that it's centered when you are using an iPad in portrait mode, and off to the side for the way I'm speculating most people use the iPad Pro. But that's why
it's hard to find a vertical orientation for it over the long term, right? Sorry, I'm still getting over a cold. So like I've looked, because I like to use my iPad for a planner, and I like it to look like a piece of paper, and I like it to be vertical. And I've tried to find a vertical stand. And Jeff, you and I have had this conversation because I asked you if you had anything that helped it stay vertically in such a fashion that I would be able to use my Apple Pencil and write upon it and have it be stable and not wiggly, and also be, functional in a vertical orientation. And so far, I have found things that make it comfortable to write, and I have found things that allow it to be vertical, but never the twain shall apparently meet. So I think a whole lot of people use it sideways. And the thing I was most excited about to see there was Apple realizing that rolling up the case into that stupid little triangle isn't the best move anymore. And it only took them 15 years. So, maybe eventually they will come around. And I think this is the same kind of thing as a lot of other things, honestly, with the iPad, where they finally realized, even with center stage, everybody looks weird because they're kind of looking over here because they're looking directly at the screen to see all the other people, but the camera is over here and nobody wants to stare at the side of their iPad. And I think maybe, stay with me here, I know this is crazy, but remember I run a home for the crackpot theory, that enough people talk to their parents enough times who actually work at Apple and realize that this is what's happening and it's sort of dumb. And what would be a really easy way to fix it would be if we just put the camera where everybody's eyeballs are already looking. I mean, right? So that was one of the things that I took away from it was the, dare I say it, I'm going to channel my inner Jay for a minute. The Microsoft stand situation for the Surface is a good move. It's really solid. It's easy to use. You can adjust the angle. It can be flat, and it just works. And that was to me, like, the pencil stuff looked cool, but that's another one of those things that Apple comes out with that's its awesome factor is going to be determined by how many people think it's awesome enough to develop something that actually recognizes it. And if you want to know what that looks like, I have a Force Touch trackpad and a touch bar to talk to you about, because as long as nobody cares about those things enough to develop something cool for them, then they're not going to go anywhere.
Today's edition of Mac Voices is supported by Zocdoc. Find local doctors who take your insurance at Zocdoc.com/MacVoices. Zocdoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. That really shouldn't be so hard, should it? But available when you need them, not when it suits their schedule, who take your insurance, not the ones they prefer, and patient-reviewed to be sure you're getting what you think you're getting? What a concept. Yes, what a concept. Zocdoc's mobile app is as easy as ordering a ride to a restaurant or getting delivery to your house. Search, find, and book doctors with a few taps. Whatever specialty you need, Zocdoc can help find the doctor who is right for you. Every month, millions of people use Zocdoc. You should be one of them. Go to Zocdoc.com/MacVoices and download the Zocdoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's Zocdoc, ZocDoc.com/MacVoices. Zocdoc.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Zocdoc for their support of Mac Voices.
That was part of what I was looking forward to.
The problem with the smart keyboard, as cool as it looks and as functional as it is, the one thing it doesn't do is portrait mode. So trying to remove your iPad off of a magnetic surface that it's brilliantly holding it in place and all the rest of that is fine. But then when you turn it in a different orientation, it just slides right off. And so if you need to use your iPad, and it's not just productivity, but it's games as well. There are a lot of games for the iPad that you need to have in portrait mode. And if you have a smart keyboard, you're basically pulling it off the smart keyboard, tossing that off to the side, and then just holding the iPad like a regular iPad. Whereas with the new Magic Keyboard Folio, you don't have to. You just fold it in on itself and you keep going.
Yeah.
Kelly, I'll ask you and Jeff, because I'm a little unclear on this. And if you say you both have had conversations, and I will use my phone to demonstrate.
Yes.
So I'm having a hard time understanding. You want to have a stand that puts it like at this orientation so you can write? Yeah.
Like I want it to sit on my desk. Like, I mean, I have my iPad here that I can, it's okay. I'm One Pro. You're still pretty. I love you. Okay. So if I have it like this, like a piece of paper would be, like a notebook would be, right? Then I can lay it flat and I can write on it with my left hand, of course, because this is all left-handers. I'm among friends.
Right.
So I want it to be like this, but like at a slight angle, not flat on my desk. I'd like it to tilt up a little bit because that's a little more comfortable to write the way my desk is set up. So that's what I want. And I want it to be stable. And all I have, and this is not Apple's case, but Apple did it. And now that's all anybody else wants to do, is this dumb little thing, which is not all that stable. I can't write on it like this. Even if I wanted horizontal orientation, I can't write on it this way because this isn't wiggly. I have to do it like this. And that angle is sort of weird and doesn't work on my desk. It is reasonably stable, but it doesn't feel like a good angle. And if I'm not using this case, which sometimes I'm not, because it's a little magnetic case, so it pops off pretty easily. And if I want to run around with a naked iPad, I can run around with a naked iPad. But the problem that I have is I just wanted like a stand that would hold it like this. And I can't seem to find anything that does that in such a way. Like I could put it vertically on stands that are meant to hold it horizontally, but the feet are too wide. It slips through it. The angle's dumb. It gets complicated. And then I just get frustrated and give up. So.
Okay. So Jeff, I'll switch to you. Because I have the same case Kelly does, and the little origami triangle thing, and I don't do a lot with my Apple Pencil, but I have used the keyboard with it, and I mean the on-screen keyboard. And while the on-screen keyboard's a little bit of a challenge because I didn't grow up with one, I find it to be okay, and I find that angle to be good, and acceptable. And I would not, if anything, the last thing I would want is something that I'm going to be trying to do this, because the keyboard to your computer is, flat, or it's a little bit angled towards you. So, I mean, do you agree with what Kelly's saying about the angle? Because I'm trying to visualize you trying to do any serious writing, if you will, with an iPad at that angle. I understand the orientation, Kelly, the landscape versus portrait, but I'm trying to understand, the angle thing, or am I just completely off base?
You're not off base, but you're not thinking about it from a more analog perspective, which is what you need here. So doing the keyboard thing, of course, you don't want the keyboard at some funky angle that tips your wrists up and then you get RSI. When you look at drafting tables and a lot of drawing tables where you put the paper flat on the table and then write or draw, the table itself is not flat. It's tilted at an angle that's going up away from you. And that's where this quest for the Holy Grail in a stand comes in. Something that when you're writing with the Apple Pencil on the screen, that you can tilt up the iPad a little bit, so you're getting that more natural angle for writing or drawing with pencil in hand versus when you're typing. And it would be a completely wrong angle to work at if you're typing.
Yeah, and I'm not interested. Yeah, this isn't about typing. Like if I'm going to sit down and do some serious typing, I have a little Bluetooth keyboard I use for that. The old Magic keyboard with the barrel on the back, not the ramp. I have one of those, and the little one is about the same width as an iPad. And so, again, the long way. And so if I really need to if I really want to sit down and type like I mean it, I will use that keyboard because I will always be better with a physical keyboard than one on a screen. So if I really want to type, that's what I use. And I can leave my iPad vertical with that if I so desire and type, because they're not connected to each other. It's not a smart keyboard or a keyboard folio situation. So that's the thing that I want out of it is the analog, which I seem to come on here regularly and mess with you by saying I like to write things down or put it on paper or here's a neat pen.
No, Kelly,
so,
but
I just like the angle, a little tilted because it's more comfortable to write.
Yeah, and I get that, and this all has to do, I guess, with the camera placement and the orientation that we all tend to use our iPads in. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I was really interested when you were talking about what you do. And I know Jeff does, a lot of, well, my perception, Jeff, is that you do a lot of graphic work on your iPad. So, and because I know you've talked about the Wacom tablet in the past. So, let's talk about the M2 though. In the iPad Pro, was this a surprise to see?
Yeah, I was expecting M3. I'm just really shocked.
Just leapfrog.
I don't know about that.
Like you said, Chuck, trouble.
Yeah.
It was. I think it was a surprise because it wasn't that long ago. You know, I mean, the last iPad Pro was an M1, and the fact that the only M2 product right now is MacBook Pro 13.
No, you can
What
get
else?
Air, can you?
MacBook Air 13.
Yeah, the midnight
Okay.
MacBook Air is the
All
M2.
the low end.
Okay,
Has
so
anybody actually
basically, there's very few Macs right now that are using the
Correct.
M2,
Right.
and they
Wow.
went ahead and said, you know what, we're going to take the shortened capacity of processors that we have, and instead of putting them in new Macs because they're selling so well, we'll put them in this iPad instead. And when I saw that, I was just a little flabbergasted. It was like, really, why would you why not put those into the some new Mac product instead of the
Well, they
iPad?
will, but they're going to. But
Well, of
I
course
mean,
they're going to, but it's
but
just
has anybody
we're
ever
still-
maxed out? Has anybody ever maxed out an iPad M1 iPad using it? Is anybody?
chances are nobody exceeded the capabilities of an i7 or an i5.
iPad.
It's not about completely filling the buffers of the processor. It's because a lot of this, let's face it, a lot of this is marketing. So
I'm just trying to figure out who
have
this would appeal to if you had a
Well,
last gen Pro.
Like I
Why-
do.
with an M1, which is still a
Is that-
fantastic chip because that's what's
Yeah,
across almost
right.
the entire Mac line.
Is anybody out there saying, "God, I wish I had an M2 because I'm on this
No.
M1"?
There
Why?
probably is
no.
Yeah,
on the Mac side,
On
No,
the Mac side, yes, but not on
the
an
Mac,
iPad.
yes. I'm
No,
talking
I-
but
about
not
an
on
iPad.
an iPad.
Not on
Has
an iPad
anybody said
because
on an if I had an M1 iPad, and is there any reason at all? Even let's even pretend I was like super graphic, artist, extreme. Is there would there be
Dun,
any?
dun.
Would there be any possible reason I would need the M2 over the
No.
M1 iPad Pro?
marketing, but the
No,
software we have
marketing.
available on the iPad is never going to allow you to max out an M1.
That's right. That was my
That's-
question, and your answer is marketing. My question is from a technical standpoint, from a usability
Yeah,
standpoint. Is there any reason?
I mean, there are things that will be better over time, but it's the same conversation as an M1 versus an M2 in a computer, which is
Over time,
if you're doing-
I
no, I mean,
on an iPad,
no.
I don't agree at all.
I mean-
okay,
at all.
one at a time,
Because-
guys. One at a
Because I
time.
could use.
Let me finish my point, Warren, because what I'm
wife
saying
gave me
is-
her old iPad because I just got her the new Air.
Mhm.
I mean, it's still there's nothing on there where I say to myself, "This is terrible."
No,
Whereas
I
if
don't-
this was a computer at that age, I would.
I don't mean
So-
over months. I mean over a single task. Like if I have, for example, I do a lot of audio editing on my M1 iPad Pro. The reason I went to the M1 was because I was on the last Lightning iPad Pro. And so I decided to pull the trigger on the upgrade because when I export that file at a certain format, that task is the thing I'm talking about.
And
That takes a long
also had
time
more
and it got a
bells,
lot faster on the M1.
But they have more features, if I remember right. When you went from the Lightning Pro to the M1 Pro, there was more features than just a chip bump. But I could look back to
Right.
see what they were.
but
Because
that's
I
what
did the same thing, and I wouldn't have done it over a chip bump. So.
Well, that's what I wanted out of it was more pure processor so that task that I do regularly on my iPad would take less time, and it does.
So
But a lot of those
for me, it would just be compatibility, right? Like if
Right.
if Stage Manager didn't work on one model, then I would pick another one. Or if like
Yeah.
Good example is the iPad that I got hand me down for my wife for a new one is an older iPad, and it's
Mhm.
great except it doesn't do continuity. So it went
Right.
it went on iOS 16, no problem. And then I started trying to get my mouse over, and then I had to look it up and said it for some
Yeah.
reason it doesn't do it.
Yeah.
So I mean, features drop off on old iPads, but other
Yeah.
than that, I've never said I can't do what I need to do on this 5-year-old iPad. Me personally, but
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
push limits.
Okay, Jeff, you were waving your hand. I want to get
I
some of the
was.
rest of the panel in here. So, but by all means, please.
So Warren, from my perspective, the reason I could see someone looking at what I have, which is an A series iPad versus an M series, and feeling like I actually would get a value out of that processor upgrade that I would be able to really see. It's when you're doing things that from my perspective pushes more towards the pro end, where you're doing like what I do, video editing and rendering. And if you
notice
need
a
to be able
difference
to,
in time, what are we
oh
talking?
yeah,
Or
we're talking about the difference
visually?
in time.
So you think doing the same task on your iPad versus a new iPad does it any faster or slower?
It will
'Cause
be
I haven't
it will be
heard-
significantly faster.
I'm here
I
to tell
haven't
you it
heard-
will be faster.
It will. Okay, so
Yeah.
Okay, so
I mean,
go ahead
'cause
and
I
finish.
never hear
Well,
anything
in
about
my
that.
case, in
I
my
always
case,
hear-
just going from an A series to an M series, regardless of which number comes after the M, I will see a significant improvement in video render speeds.
and that's fair. I mean, that was my question. And my question exactly is, if I gave you one iPad over another, would you look down and say, I need this because, and you're saying, yes, you see it. When you're using an iPad, you could visually and mentally feel that you're saving time
Yes.
on
Well,
the
and-
iPad. And I'm not saying computer's a whole different beast, because yes, I see it
Right.
every friggin' day. I see it where I'm working on old people's computers and saying to myself, this is why I have a newer one. But on an iPad, I don't see that, right? So
Yeah.
but if you see it, then cool.
It's the
Well, but
same. It is the same as a computer conversation, though, because it's the same sort of thing. That's what I meant by a task over time. So, like, I know people who build in Xcode regularly, and for developers, going from an Intel machine to an Apple Silicon machine dramatically increased the, it made it so much faster for them to do that build, which is a thing that you have to wait for the computer to do the
Right.
thing it's doing.
And we're
Transcoding
it's gonna come
video
down
is
to
the
time.
same thing.
Right. So
All
it's
of
going to
that,
come
yeah.
down whether it takes you 3 hours to get something encoded or 4.
Or an hour and a
And
half,
you-
even, or
Or
whatever.
an hour and a
So,
half.
yeah.
But then you also have to say to yourself, am I doing this on top of each other? Because if you're doing one a day, it doesn't matter. It could take 8 hours or 2 hours, because that's all it's just sitting there doing
Right.
it. So I
But
mean,
Warren,
for me,
the thing is, in this group here, I mean, we're not just talking about you. We're talking about this group. Jeff probably does the heaviest lifting on video. But when you see things like Photoshop running and you see things like LumaFusion running, yes, they're going to benefit from the extra speed and power of the M2, just like we saw the M1 Pro, Max, Ultra, all of those on the Mac side. So, I don't think this is an overpowered machine. Some of the software has to catch up, but frankly, I think some of us have to catch up with thinking about doing those projects on our iPads as opposed to always going back to our Macs. And I'm absolutely guilty of that. I've
right.
because I know my Mac and I know the software on it. And so, yeah, I've used LumaFusion. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But I haven't pushed the edges of it with my M1 and iPad.
But a lot of times when we've made these attempts previously, Chuck, because I know you and I kind of are in the same boat with that, with like, I'd really like to be able to do this completely on my iPad because reasons. And I know you and I've had those conversations about something failing in a particular way because you can't whatever. And this goes all the way back to like before the Files app. Like, I can't do anything with this hunk of data because I don't have a place to put it while I go to the other app where I'm going to do the thing and then do the thing. And so, like, we've come up against those hurdles, and like, I just don't have the time and the intestinal fortitude of somebody like Federico Vitici, who says, well, I can't do it right now and I'm going to make a way. And so like, I'm just not that person, because I'll just go back to my Mac and it's not a huge deal. It just sort of makes me sigh deeply and go, why can't this computer do all the things this computer can do? And
why are you trying to turn something into something that you pretty much have, where a MacBook is literally almost very similar in size and shape to an iPad at this point?
It's a
Because he with the smaller tools wins.
It's a completely different computing device. And like, If there were a Mac version, well, if there were a Mac
Right.
OS version of Ferrite, I wouldn't have this problem. And if there were an iOS version of Descript, I wouldn't have this problem. So
if you had like a Mac that, with a Mac, a touchscreen Mac with a detachable keyboard, would you want that?
no, I would, if somebody handed me one, I would immediately go up to the river and drop it in because I don't want that. That's not what I want at all. I love the touchscreen interface. I love how Ferrite makes that happen. Jeff probably has audio and video editing apps that are a similar sort of thing. Like doing it with a touch interface and having the Apple Pencil and being able to make the edits I need to make is just better on there than literally any audio editing software I've ever tried on Mac OS, and I've tried a bunch. And I prefer to use Ferrite there, and exporting that file got a lot faster when I got an M1 iPad, and doing the little bit of video stuff that I've done on my iPad is just faster and easier on my iPad.
I totally get graphic design. 100%. I get that.
Yeah. So those are the things that are better.
The reasons doesn't matter, Warren. It's whatever it is that you're doing for whatever reason that you've purchased an iPad. That whether it's audio, whether it's video, whether it's graphics, whether it's watching movies, whether it's
I've returned
designing the next professional yo-yo.
I returned iPads because I couldn't. I tried to figure it out, and that's what happened. I had an iPad
spend enough time.
I think Stage Manager's
so
going
I
to help
bought an
that
iPad
a lot.
Pro. I bought an iPad Pro, and I tried to figure what do I want to do this I don't want to do on my MacBook Air that I have, and I couldn't think of anything that I want to do on it. So I I got the Mini because I could see a little utility in that for reading, and just something quick to grab.
Okay, we're going to shut this down because we're getting into a debate over iPad versus Mac, and we're here to talk about the new iPads. So let's change this up. Jim, you were I think jumping in with a comment.
Well, I just wrote it in the chat. I think that Warren's theoretical machine would run Ferrite. Nowadays, Macs can run iOS software. The one downside is no touch, no pencil. But if you had a Mac that could touch and pencil, there you go. One machine does everything. I still think that's something Apple should do, but I don't think they will do it.
This panel is back in the next edition of Mac Voices to talk more about the new iPads. We get into the power of the M2, we get into the Apple Pencil controversy, and a whole lot more. That's all next time on Mac Voices. I hope to see you then. Until then, and as always, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.